Hi guys. So today I'm going to be doing some sort of real talk video with you. This is not booktube related in any way, so if you just want to watch the booktube content then feel free to click off. I understand completely. But I thought in honour of Mental Healthathon, which is happening at the moment, which I'm currently taking part in, and then also next week is Mental Health Awareness Week, which starts next Monday. I know I'm doing a project for it at the moment. I thought it would be a good time to give you a real talk chat on my mental health and things that have affected my mental health in the past. I'm not going to talk about everything. I mean, I don't really know where to begin, to be honest. I've sat here for 20 minutes before I started filming trying to decide what to actually discuss. And there have been a couple of things, but I couldn't think of anything that was worthwhile. Like, that's the wrong word. There's a lot of things I wanted to discuss, but other than just talking about them, it felt like there was no real point. So I've kind of settled on two things, and I'm going to talk about one and then maybe talk about the other, and I'm not sure because they are probably the two biggest influences recently on my life that have affected my mental health. So I don't know how many people who are not from England know about this, but I am from Manchester, and in Manchester wow, just trying to think of the right way to talk about this now, really. Okay, in Manchester in 2017 there was a terrorist attack, and it happened at the Ariana Grande concert at the Manchester Arena. A suicide bomber charged the arena and detonated a bomb, and that killed 22 people. Now, being from Manchester, that had an impact on me anyway, but at the time I was studying in university, and I actually had a job at the arena. I was actually meant to be working the day of the attack. I was meant to be working the concert, but on the day I had quite a lot of work to do in terms of university work and essays and planning for essays, and basically I actually ended up calling in sick. I'm sorry if this feels really awkward. I'm struggling to actually form words, and also it's very awkward to talk about, especially when you're just talking to a camera. You just don't know how it's going to be taken. But yes, I was meant to be working. I got a bit overwhelmed with things and called in sick that day. And then the attack happened. And that really affected me because, for starters, I didn't know. Like, we heard it from where I was. I was in the middle of Salford. And I don't think, if you don't know where Salford is, it's probably walking about a half an hour away from the arena. And I was in my flat. We did kind of hear things, but we wasn't sure. And then one of my flatmates came home and told us that her bus home from work had actually been rerouted and everyone had to get off, and it was all dramatic and tense because nobody knew what was going on, but they'd heard what had happened. And then we started watching the news, we found things out, and it just kind of hit me what happened, and it terrified me because, one, I should have been there and I wasn't, and then I started worrying about all of my work colleagues and my friends who were actually there and checking they were okay. I was worrying about all of the people it was a very traumatic night for everybody, and it affected me in a lot of ways because I ended up getting hit with loads of different feelings, and I didn't know how I was allowed to feel. Like, I felt scared and emotional and shocked because I should have been working that night and decided not to. And it affected me because it just made me think, wow, that could have been me in there. I mean, luckily it couldn't have, luckily is the wrong word, but luckily it couldn't have been me, because even if I was working, none of the staff were around that area at the time, so I wouldn't have been directly involved, but I would have been in the vicinity. No doubt I'd have been there during the aftermath. But it started affecting me and scaring me because I just kept thinking, that really could have been me. I could have been there. And then I thought how awful of a person I was and how guilty I felt, because it makes me angry when things happen and people say, oh, that could have been me. And you're like, well, it wasn't, was it? The people that actually were killed, or the people that were really seriously injured, they are the people that get to really stick with this trauma and really kind of use that trauma and say, this is something I went through. Someone like me who potentially could have been there but wasn't, I had no right to be affected by it. And I know that's ridiculous. Everybody has a right to be affected by things, but I felt at the time that I could have been there, yeah, but I wasn't, and so that took away my right to feel scared about that, and to feel targeted in a way, because it was a place I worked. I felt targeted. So there was so much guilt around all of that. Guilt around feeling scared by it and feeling like a victim, and then also guilt that I wasn't working, because then I started thinking to myself, well, I called in sick. Does that mean they called someone in to take my place who was there, who didn't need to be? It was very difficult, and I just felt so much. I felt panicked and shocked and traumatized by what had happened. I felt angry at myself and guilty for feeling like that, because I felt as though I had no right to. Then I felt awful and guilty because I felt, did I make someone go in? Did I put someone in the situation I should have been in? Because really that was just so selfish of me, and it was ridiculous because I didn't know. And then after that there was just a lot of feelings of, I wish I had been there, because I don't know what I could have done. If it had have happened and I was there, could I have helped people? Instead I was just sat in my flat watching it on the news. Like, the least productive thing you could have done, but at the same time, like, what else could I have done? It was really difficult, and it really hit me, because I just sat there and thought, what can I do? Where am I now? What position am I in? Am I allowed to feel guilty? Am I allowed to feel scared? And do I have a right to feel bad on these people because I basically chose not to go into work that day? And if I hadn't, and I had actually gone in, maybe I could have helped in some way. Even if it was just one person, I could have helped more than I actually did. And it really affected me for a long time. I was terrified to move. I was terrified to go into Manchester. I was terrified. I quit my job. As soon as that happened, I quit. There was just no way I was doing that, and I just couldn't move. I was terrified. I had rehearsals due to go on at my theatre, and I was too scared to go to them. I mean, I did, because I told myself it's the opposite direction, because Manchester was that way, my theatre was that way. I was more safe going that way. But I didn't do anything because I was too scared, and I think everyone felt like that. But it was awful. And at that time, I had all of those feelings brewing up inside me, trying to decide what what the hell I was thinking, what was going on. And then I just started thinking about the people that actually died and how scared they must have been, and I kind of imagined their final minutes in my head when I was asleep. I had nightmares about them. I kind of pictured myself sitting with them or standing with them as they died, and thinking if I was there I could have done something, and I know I couldn't. So it was a really hard time, and I got counselling for it, of course. I know as well as anybody that when you need support for your mental health, you get it, because sitting with it is not good. And I made sure the first thing I did was to seek help for it. And I still feel guilty. I still feel bad whenever I think about that, and I think about my feelings of feeling scared about it or affected by it in any way. I do kind of mentally punish myself, saying you shouldn't, you weren't there, no matter how much you could have been, you wasn't at the end of the day. And I know it's the wrong way to go about it, but I can't not. So that really affected me for a while. It still does, as you can probably tell. In the end, I actually went back to the arena. I didn't work. I went to a concert, and that was terrifying walking in there. I was actually quite ill at the concert. I actually spent a lot of the time feeling very sick, on the verge of being sick, in the toilets. Not something I should be sharing, but just being there again after so long, and seeing the place, because it reopened and been obviously redecorated and remodeled after everything, and seeing that place, it felt wrong to be there. So I've not been back since, or have I don't know. I've not been back in quite a while. I think at least 2 or 3 years, because I just don't feel comfortable. I just don't know. I don't know. Everyone did so much when that happened for Manchester. Like, there was the concert, there was everything going around about the bees. Everyone got the bee tattoos. Everyone started doing things to help mental health, and it was beautiful to see. And it made me happy to see that. But I was really, really struggling in that time. And I don't really talk about it. I speak about my mental health like to a counsellor, but I don't really talk about it to my friends or my family, because I just don't see the point. Because I know them. Like, my friends are quite supportive, but there's not much they can do, so I didn't bother. And then my family, of course, they're supportive, but they're also stress heads. Like, I'm a mega stress head. I get that from my family. And my family, if I told them how I was feeling, it would be a big panic. Like, if I ever told my mum I was upset, she would be jumping right up, saying, right, who am I going to beat up? What can I do? I need to make it okay. And my dad tells me how to fix things all the time. And really, I just didn't need that. I just needed to be heard. And I know they would have sat and heard me, but at the time I just thought I need someone professional. So I went to someone professional, and that was it. I didn't speak about it again. I just kind of dealt with it in my own way. I dealt with it in counselling, and slowly I felt better about it. I feel less guilty about it. I feel as though my feelings were validated. I feel as though, although I still feel as though I'm going through some sort of PTSD from that, even though I weren't there, it feels wrong to have PTSD from it, but I feel as though I'm also validated in having that, because it was still an experience so close to home, even closer for me, having it be a place of employment for me. And I feel as though I'm in a good place with it now. I still think about it. I still see things. Obviously, you're in Manchester, you can't avoid it. Whenever it comes round to the anniversaries, you're going to be thinking about it. And I feel as though every day I'm getting better at managing that. So I decided to talk about that. I also do want to talk about something else, but I'm also realising that we're reaching 16 minutes of this video. So I'm going to talk about the next thing. Hopefully, I'll see after I've finished this. If it's like an hour long, then I'll just cut this second bit out. I'll see. So the second thing that affected me actually happened in 2019, which was only last year, which feels like 10 years ago with everything currently going on. But in February 2019, I had moved back home because I'd just finished university. I was helping take care of my mother because she had a lot of health problems. She currently has heart failure. So I wanted to move back home really because, one, I had to, and two, because I really wanted to support her more. Like, she's still very capable, she's still very able to do things by herself, but she needs someone to kind of rein her in sometimes because she thinks she can do everything and she can't. And in February 2019, I woke up randomly. I have a weird thing for doing things like that. I woke up at like 4 or 5 a.m. and I could hear my mum crying and shouting, and I was terrified, so obviously I ran in, and she couldn't breathe. She was really struggling, and she'd done this before. It was kind of like she has a lot of panic attacks, so naturally we tried to calm her down and try to stop that. But this time it wasn't working, and she collapsed. I rang an ambulance, and the ambulance were on its way, and all the way through it my mum just kept telling me that she was going, she could feel herself going, and she wasn't going to make it through. And that was very traumatic as it was. Then we got her to the hospital, and I was sat down by a doctor who told me that basically she had 24 hours to live. They told me that she had a heart attack, that she was severely diabetic, and anything that they gave her to try and help would actually kill her because of all of the problems she had. So they had to just leave it. And basically, if they left it, the chances of her dying were pretty much 99%, something like that, because she needed what they needed to give her to live, and they couldn't give it to her because it would kill her at the same time. So we was told she had 24 hours left, and we had to say goodbye. And obviously that was quite a hard day, and we struggled all the way through that because it was me, my brother and my sister. We had no idea how to feel. My nan was there with us. No one knew what to do, what to think. Like, how do you cope with something like that? And we struggled through it. We didn't say our goodbyes. That's not something my family would ever do. We would never say, we know you're going to die, goodbye. So we tried acting normal, and basically then I went home that night, and sat awake expecting the call. And then the next morning I hadn't had a call, so then I stressed out thinking, right, they told me she had 24 hours. What the hell is happening? It's past 5 a.m. She's gone past the 24-hour mark. Have I just not been told? If they rang somebody else? Like, what's going on? So I went back to the hospital straight away, about 7 a.m. I broke all of the laws because you're not really allowed in without visiting hours, but I did. I kicked up a fuss. Eventually they let me in. And she'd been moved, so I went to a new place and I sat with her and checked she was okay. She seemed fine. She was back to her normal self, but obviously we've been told that there was nothing to be done, so we just tried to make it as normal as possible. And then her new doctor came around and basically checked up on her, and I said to him, like, right, we've been told she's got less than 24 hours. We've been told she's had a heart attack, she's got diabetes, we've been told all of this, her heart is gone. What's happening? Because it's been too long, really, compared to what they've told us. And then the doctor, who was a different doctor to yesterday, the doctor said to me, she's not had a heart attack, she's not diabetic, nothing in the signs, like nothing in all of her tests suggests that in any way. She's not going to die. She was never at risk of dying. And I just didn't know how to respond. Like, I've been sat down by a doctor who told me that my mum had 24 hours left to live. And then the next day I was told that that was not the case and none of that was ever happening. And it was so confusing because I was angry and shocked and hurt, but obviously I was relieved, and I was just like, I'm still speechless thinking about it because I don't know what the hell's going on. And I still don't. We never found out. We never saw that doctor again. We never found out what happened, why anyone thought she wasn't going to make it through. But it was awful because I felt as though I'd had like a second round of PTSD from that. Because I'd gone from finding my mum collapsing, being unable to breathe, to then being told she was going to die in less than 24 hours, to then finding out that that was never going to happen. She was always going to be okay. And I just didn't know how to handle it. And again, I sought counselling for it. Did not like the counsellor I saw, so really I just kind of give up then. I went to one counsellor, realised it wasn't, like, she wasn't for me, and thought, right, I need to find someone else. And then, to be honest, I actually didn't, because I ended up getting quite sidetracked with work and other things and being really busy, so I never actually got help for that one. But I think things have improved now, but I'm still scared every day. I still live with my mum, especially during this time, because I refuse to leave her, because after that I don't ever want my mum to be in a situation where she is living alone and can't get help if she can't breathe again. And we don't know what happened. It's just so confusing. She's had tests since. She has improved dramatically. Like, we was told like only 10% of her heart was working at that point, and it's now up to like 60 or 70%, something like that. So her heart has actually improved dramatically. Like, it's still failing. She is still really ill, but it's improved. But those were two of the most confusing times for me, because I don't know what to think. I still don't. The arena bomb terrifies me every day, because I just think, how could someone do that? How could someone hurt that many people? How can I feel scared when I wasn't there? How can I feel personally traumatized by something that I wasn't even at? How is that even possible? And obviously I know it is, but I feel it all the time. And then with my mum, it's who was that guy that told us she was going to die? How did he have the right to do that? Why would he do that? Because if we thought about this and we spoke about this, me and my siblings, and we said, is it in any of the tests that potentially could have been the case? And it wasn't. There was nothing that suggested that was happening. So it's not as though they just kind of, at the time, that's what the test suggested. It just wasn't there. So why would you tell the children of a woman in hospital that she was going to die? Obviously, you can tell I don't like talking about these things. I'm a very funny person, as some of you keep telling me, which I don't understand. I don't think I'm funny. But I thought, I am a mental health worker. I try to be very open about my mental health. I really petition for mental health to happen. I'm taking part in the Mental Healthathon. It's Mental Health Awareness Week. This is, Mental Health Awareness Week next week. This is the perfect time for me to do a real talk video on things that have affected my mental health. So I decided to do this video. It was very hard. But I'm glad I did it. I think it's important to do that, and I'm feeling safe. I have a very depressing book to read now, which I'm actually quite looking forward to, just because it'd be such a change for me and very interesting to start, so I'm going to do that. It is also Books for the Brave and the Healthathon, which both start today. So I'm going to be starting, again, this for Books for the Brave and also my Mental Healthathon, and then I will start Healthathon as soon as I finish that one. And yeah, it's a good week. I'm also video timing to do a collab video with my friends today. I'm also going to be watching some TV and chilling out. I'm going to be doing a lot of self-care because, quite honestly, I deserve it. And just one more thing I want to say about the situation with my mother. We was told she was diabetic, and they brought around her food, because she was in hospital, they brought her meals round, and they gave her a chocolate eclair, and I flipped my shit because I said, is this suitable for diabetics? They said no. I said, right, well, we've just been told she's diabetic. This was before we found out she wasn't diabetic. I was like, we've just been told she's diabetic. She's going to die. Don't dare give my mother something like this again. And I really flipped my shit. And I am such a quiet person. I don't argue about anything. But literally since leaving uni, I'm the person that will flip tables if someone annoys me. I don't stand for stuff anymore. So I've grown as a person. But I did that, and basically they gave her a banana instead. And I was like, oh, that's great. Thanks very much. Nearly killed her and you just give her a soggy banana instead. That was clearly bitter old lady brigade right there. And then we found out that she wasn't diabetic about an hour after that. And my mum was fuming because she wanted the chocolate eclair. Just a little fun thing to end on. She's still not forgiven me. You mentioned that chocolate eclair to her, she will go mad. So, yeah, she hasn't forgiven me for that. But yeah, that is my real talk. Sorry if it got a bit too real for some people. Can't imagine myself doing this again unless I feel the need to at any point in my life. But right now, I think I'm set. So, thank you for watching. And if you actually made it to the end of this video, well done. Congratulations. I can definitely see why people wouldn't. But yeah, honestly, thank you for watching. I really appreciate anyone that watched this. My mental health is currently good, so I'm happy. I've had a few days off reading in preparation for this, so I'm happy now. I'm in a good place. And yeah, take care of your mental health. Please make sure you do. And that's really all I can say. So, see you later.